Now this video will be broken down into 3 segments, and I promise you, the most insightful 3 segments into Tudor, into Juventus, into the players. Segment 1, what? Segment 2, why? And segment 3, how? What's going wrong? Why is it going wrong? And how do you fix it? Okay, now in a nutshell, what's going wrong? Juventus have conceded 11 goals in 5 games, and I promise you guys, it could have been more than 11. If you're conceding that amount of goals, you are going to drop points. And ding, 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 Juventus have drawn their last 4 games. And you could seriously make a case, some of them, they could have lost. At the same time, some of them, they could have won. But the problem is, you are conceding a lot of goals. You're not supposed to concede this much amount of goals. You really aren't, okay? Second thing is, why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Is it structure? Is it coaching? Is it Tudor? Is it personnel? Is it a lack of recruitment? Is it injuries? Is it form? Is it confidence? I'm here to discuss with you guys structure. Number 1, there's a massive gap between defense and midfield. We will break that down later. And number 2, there's just no understanding in the final third, especially when it comes to players' decision making and their positioning in possession. Okay, so now that we know what's going wrong, let's just go into DL as to why it's going wrong. Let's start off with the gap between defense and midfield. And this links so much into Tudor's philosophy of high press. Okay, this is Juventus. Okay, they're pressing high, they're applying pressure to Villarreal. The defensive line is about 50 yards behind the midfield. You could see Locatelli's pushed up, McKennie's pushed up, Koopmeiners has pushed up, João Mario has pushed up, Kenan, Jonathan David. They're practically in Villarreal's own box, not their own half, their own box. The defensive line is nowhere there. They're not close. 50 yards behind them. Guess what Villarreal done? The easiest thing on planet Earth. They clipped it over those 5, 6, 7 Juventus players, and they started to charge towards Juve's backline. Okay, there's a massive gap between defense and midfield. Now, fair enough. This was one of 3 examples during the game against Villarreal. Now, of course, everybody might turn around and say, Haj, the solution to this is clearly tell the defensive line to push up. You're right. The problem is, it's not a game of chess. It's not a game of checkers where you just move the components and then you automatically get the results. No, it's far more than that. You look at the first goal that Villarreal scored. Juve actually pushed up. Juve were actually on the halfway line. The problem is Juventus actually positioned themselves correctly. They were on the halfway line. They were trying to suffocate and condense the pitch. But where the problem is, it's not just a matter of push up and the opposition won't score. No, you have to push up, you have to be aggressive, and you have to read the game very well. You go back and watch that goal. Firstly, McKennie is the player that needs to block the pass. McKennie can't let that pass go forwards. McKennie fails to intercept it, fails to block it. No problem. The pass is made forwards. Kelly leaves the defensive line. You could see Kelly leaves the defensive line, which then creates the gap between Cambiaso and between Gatti. There's a reason why that pass went through. But Kelly, he stepped up because he was thinking, listen, let me step up. Let me try and win the ball in their own half so my team can go into the attack. But you didn't win the ball back. So you stepped up, you were aggressive, you didn't win the ball, and you didn't take out the man. The ball is passed backwards. Parejo passes it forwards. Gatti, you are the last line of defense. McKennie couldn't block it. Kelly couldn't intercept it. Gatti, you have to intercept that pass. You have to intercept that pass. Now, what do I mean by intercept? In football, applying pressure it's not like on your marks, get set, go, and everybody starts charging. No, there's a way to control the game with your press, and there's a way to control the game with your positioning. Please remember that. Please remember that. There is a way to control the game with your press because you force the opposition to either go long and give you back the ball or pass the ball into areas they don't want to pass into. So practically, you are manipulating what they do in possession with your press. But the other way to control the game is by sitting back. You sit back and you block the passing angles, which means when the opposition look to the left, Even though you're not applying pressure, they look to the left and they see Cop Miners standing in front of the centre half. You can't pass there, because if you pass there, I intercept it. They look to the right, they see Kenan blocking the centre half. Kenan is not applying pressure. Kenan is just standing in the way of the pass, blocking the passing angles. That's what the best of teams do. They apply pressure, but when they do decide to sit back, they block the passing angles. McKennie didn't block the passing angle, hence the pass went through. Kelly didn't intercept the ball, hence he left his defensive line and he left them outnumbered. Parejo passes the ball, Gatti doesn't intercept and he doesn't block the passing angle. Those are the three players that are mainly to blame for Juventus conceding that goal. They were all in the wrong place at the wrong time, but they weren't aggressive to win the ball back. So when I said to you guys, there's a massive gap between defense and midfield, in some moments there's a massive gap and the opposition easily beat Juventus' high press by clipping it over them. But on the other occasion, in the second moment, Juventus will be on the halfway line. They don't have physical centre-halves. They don't have centre-halves that are aggressive to step up and win their duels. But most importantly, their reading of the game is shocking. Their reading of the game is shocking. To deploy a high line in the modern game, it's great. Trust me, it's great if you have physical centre-halves. Strong, fast. But at the same time, let's not beat around the bush and make it seem like you always need physical, strong centre-halves to deploy a high line. In my opinion, the best team ever to deploy a high line and dominate the opposition was Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Who was their back line? Carlos Puyol and Gerard Piqué. Both of them are slow as hell, but they were always in the right place at the right time. They sniffed and anticipated danger, and when they did step up to engage, they made sure they either got the ball or they got the man. One of the two. You can't let them through if you want to play a high press. You have to be aggressive in and out of the ball. Juventus, aggressive when applying pressure, but not aggressive when winning the ball back. Not intense when winning the ball back, and that's the reason why they conceded that goal. The second point as to why it's wrong is just poor chemistry in the final third, poor positioning, but most importantly, a very poor understanding amongst players. And I really want you to focus on this. If any of you guys actually watched my video a week or so ago on Tudor, the high press, where it went right and where it went wrong, and I keep referencing that video, I'm about to give you guys the perfect example which breaks down everything I said in that video. I've gone back and watched the game against Villarreal, and I've taken note of every single time Juventus apply pressure to Villarreal and they force a turnover. So their press results in them regaining possession. Okay, the first time it started in the first half, 26th minute. Locatelli makes the interception, gives it to David. David passes the ball out of play. Turnover number one. Turnover number two on the 31st minute. McKennie makes the interception, passes the ball out of play. 37th minute was the third time. Locatelli makes the interception, passes the ball to João Mario. He gives the ball back to Villarreal. Number four, Locatelli makes the interception, gives it to Cop Miners. Cop Miners gives the ball back to Villarreal. 43rd minute, this was the fifth time in one 45-minute performance. Locatelli once again makes the interception from Juve's high press, gives it to Cop Miners. He has a ridiculous first touch, and Villarreal regained the ball. In the second half, Conceição. The crazy thing is, this was the last time that Juventus pressed and regained the ball, and it ended with a goal. If you compare the ones in the first half to Conceição's goal, Conceição actually pressed Villarreal in their own half in the second phase. So in midfield, it wasn't even a high press. Conceição regained the ball on the halfway line, and then he carried the ball and put it into the back of the net. You're asking a lot from Conceição to win the ball on the halfway line and go charging 20, 30 yards. But he's a player that was capable of doing that and putting the ball into the back of the net. All of the other 5 moments in the first half where Juve were applying heavy pressure and they were winning the ball within the 25, 30 yard box every single time, they gave the ball back to Villarreal. So when I said in that video, Juve are one, working hard, wasting their breath, wasting their energy, and then just giving the ball back to Villarreal. There's no surprise when the 60th minute comes, they can't press anymore. They don't have the energy to track back. They don't have the energy to close and condense the space because they've wasted all their energy in the first half. For Juve to force 5 turnovers in the first half, that is impressive. Like, don't get me wrong. Some teams do 6, 7, 8 times, 5 times away from home. You force 5 turnovers and not a single one of them resulted in a shot. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see where I'm coming from? You see that video when I broke it down? I didn't show you guys like many in-game examples. You force 5 turnovers and none of them result in a shot on goal. And some of those turnovers, you were 5v3 in your favor. Some of those, you were 6v4 in your favor. 5 turnovers, 0 shots. That should tell you everything. And I've gone back and watched all of those turnovers. Poor first touches. No chemistry. They passed the ball to the right thinking the player was there, but he wasn't. Poor technical ability, poor decision making in the final third. I think 4 out of the 5 went out of play. 4 out of the 5 went out of play. Cup miners. David passes it to Locatelli. Locatelli is not there. McKennie passes it to Kenan. Kenan is not there. It goes out of play. That's why Juve are not scoring, and that's why Juve don't know how to see out games. They're wasting all of their energy with this high press. It's not reaping reward. So it comes to the final point of the video. How do you fix it? How do you fix it? I'm a firm believer in top coaches adapt to what they have. Now, don't get me wrong. Every coach in the world has their own philosophy, their own ideology, their own principles of play. Every coach would love their team to represent them on the pitch and play the way they want the game to be played. But listen, life is not that fair. Life is not that fair sometimes. Sometimes you don't inherit the squad that suits your game plan, that suits your principles. What you do, either one, you improve these players to the level that you want them to be, or you just accept they are who they are and you adapt. You adapt. So it's one of the two. Tudor, either you coach them to become more clinical, their decision-making improves in the final third, their overall positioning, so nobody makes the mistake of passing the ball to the left and there's nobody there. No, you improve their positioning in the final third. So either one, you coach, or 2, you scrap your principle and adapt to them. And what I mean by adapt, if you don't have centre-halves, that can play on the high line, be aggressive, be tenacious, win their duels, brother, drop that high line. Drop that high line. I'm telling you, drop that high line. If you don't want to drop the high line, drop your offensive line. Don't press. You don't have to press high. Because if you don't press high, you could easily become one of those teams that just presses in midfield. There's a lot of successful teams in the world where they don't press high. But as soon as the ball gets into the second phase, that's when they press. That's when they apply serious pressure. Of course, the downside of it is if you regain the ball in the second phase, you now practically have to carry it 30, 40, 50 yards to get into the opposition box. In comparison to applying heavy pressure and you regain the ball 20, 15 yards into the opposition box, there's a positive and there's a negative. At the moment, Juve are winning the ball within 20, 30 yards of Villarreal's goal throughout the teams that they've played so far in this area, but they're not punishing them. So why not stop the high press? Press in the center of the field, even though you're now asking more of your team in order to progress the ball forwards. Maybe, just maybe, that will give you the defensive security because now you don't have a high line. Now you're not forcing the midfielders to join the attackers, but the defenders are too reluctant to push higher up. And when they do push higher up, they don't have the reading of the game to stop opposition transitions. Do you see what I mean? Like, am I really beginning to make sense or not? Because for me, I watch it and I see the same mistake game after game after game. I rewatch the game and I go, it's the same mistake time and time and time again. It's one of the two. Either you coach them, and I mean coach them off the ball, on the ball, not just put them on the treadmill and tell them run, improve your endurance. No, coach what they do on the ball, coach how they position themselves off the ball. Or you just tweak your principle. You tweak your principle. You already play with 2-man in midfield, so you're already outnumbered. There's a massive misconception. You don't, like Juventus play 4 centre-backs. Just because you play 4 centre-backs doesn't mean you're aiding this team defensively. I want you guys to remember that. Like any of you guys that have made it towards the end of the video. Just because you put 4 centre-halves out of 5, it doesn't mean you've improved the team defensively. It doesn't mean that. You could easily put 2 wing-backs and 3 centre-halves and the team becomes 10 times more defensive than 4 centre-backs. You need to improve the structure of the ball. You need to improve their positioning on the ball. If not, and it's not really your expertise, stop the high press. Stop the high press. Allow the team to sit back, to contain pressure, and then just play on the transition. Trust me, it might be a way of papering over the cracks, but so be it. Because I promise you, we can sit down and say, we sympathise with Tudor, he never got the centre-halves, he never got this, he never got that. If results don't go in your favor, sympathy is not going to keep you in the job. I promise you. Sympathy will not keep a manager in the job. As a coach, you adapt. You either adapt by improving the level of your players, or you adapt by just playing to your players' strengths. At the moment, nobody in that Juve's backline's strength is playing on a high line. None of them strengths are to be aggressive, tenacious, and win duels in the opposition half. If anything, the majority of them, their strengths are just to sit back and become box defenders. Put their body on the line and stop the opposition. That's my university, I don't know, lecture, shall we just say. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on another one.